is brought to justice once he is disgraced and removed from office, even if that justice is only moral or metaphysical. Sometimes it takes a showman with wit and courage to deliver that final chapter. In the case of the Frost-Nixon interviews, it took a showman who understood the power of the television close-up. Watergate began small, with a break-in at the offices of the Democratic National Committee at the Watergate Hotel in Washington on June 17, 1972. 5 men were arrested: 4 Cubans and James McCord, a former FBI and CIA agent who was serving as the security director for the Committee to Re-elect the President, CREEP. Across the street, armed with cameras and binoculars, were their co-conspirators and managers, E. Howard Hunt, a veteran CIA agent, and G. Gordon Liddy, a former FBI agent. These were the Watergate 7, the original burglars, the purpose of whose burglary was to discover incriminating political ammunition in the confidential files of the political opposition. From the outset, percolating down from the Oval Office itself through the offices of the West Wing and the Executive Office Building, a massive effort began to cover up the link between the break-in and the president's re-election campaign. Pressure was put on the original burglars to keep quiet. Piles of hush money were paid to secure their silence. That cover-up lasted for 9 months, until its full scope was laid before Nixon in his conversation with White House counsel John Dean, who had been managing the cover-up, on March 23, 1973. That hour-and-a-half interchange was later referred to as the Cancer on the Presidency conversation. In the spring of 1973, the focus shifted to the congressional investigations of the scandal. First came the Watergate hearings of the Senate Select Committee under Senator Sam Ervin, in which the principals were grilled and the secret Oval Office taping system was revealed. Then came the House Impeachment Committee under Representative Peter Rodino. The matter moved into the courts when Nixon was forced to appoint a special prosecutor, Leon Jaworski, and the White House fought to block access to the damning evidence of the Oval Office tapes, using the spurious argument of executive privilege. On July 24, 1974, in a case called United States versus Nixon, the White House lost that legal battle and was ordered to surrender the tapes to the special prosecutor. A week later, the smoking gun tape of June 23, 1972 was made public, and 4 days after that, Richard Nixon resigned. In the 2 years of this spasm in American political life, the definition of Watergate had grown and broadened from a break-in and cover-up to a broad pattern of abuse and obstruction of justice. Yet, with Nixon's resignation on August 9, 1974, the country was left with unfinished business. The man at the center of the conspiracy, the President of the United States, was left in splendid Napoleonic isolation in a place called San Clemente, California. True, he was driven from office. 3 articles of impeachment, on obstruction of justice, on abuse of power, and on contempt of Congress, were voted out of committee to the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives. After the revelation of the June 23 tape, Nixon's support evaporated in both the House and the U.S. Senate. His impeachment in the House and eventual conviction in the Senate were certain. But then he resigned, and shortly afterward he was pardoned by his successor, Gerald Ford, for any real or supposed crime. In the months following his resignation, one top White House official after another went to jail for perjury, obstruction of justice, and illegal campaign activities. H.R. Haldeman, John Ehrlichman, John Dean, John Mitchell, Herbert Kalmbach, and Nixon's henchman, Charles Colson. Though he was often named